Hello everybody, my name is Dark Magic and welcome to another sound design tutorial. Today I'll be teaching you how to make this metallic RIDDIM sound inside of Serum that sounds just like this. Before we get into this tutorial, I want to point out that this is a free download, so make sure to check the link in the description for the free patch and wavetable. Alright, perfect. To get right into this sound, I have duplicated the main patch and I will be showing you piece by piece how I made this sound and how to use these tricks in your own sound design. So to start off, we have LFO1 modulating the volume of both the sub and the wavetable, which is very basic stuff. Although I have LFO2 that is modulating the wavetable position as well as the combs filter and a few other things in the effects section. Now the reason that this is so important is because LFO2 is at 1/2 as opposed to the 1/8 that LFO1 is on. This is because I want to make sure that as the sound plays, it is constantly evolving and is not playing the same note every single time. Let me show you what the wavetable itself sounds like. Now this is very basic, although I will show you that if you have it on 1/8, it sounds like it's playing the same note every single time. So make sure that when you're making rhythm basses like these that you want to evolve it over time. Moving on to the sub, which is very simple. It is just a sine wave with direct out. But most of this sound actually comes from the combs minus filter that we have right here. So I have key tracking on, which means that it follows what note you hit. And this is because, as you can see in the MIDI over here, I am modulating the note from F to F sharp, or F sharp to F. This basically means that whenever you hit a different note, the cutoff will follow that note. This is used to tune stuff, but I'm more using it to get that metallic feeling. And I'm also modulating the cutoff only by 1% with this LFO2, but that little modulation makes such a difference. So let me play it for you with the filter. I also want to point out that I am modulating the resonance with LFO1. The reason for this is because I want to make sure that we get that metallic ring out sound after the sound finishes playing, but I want to clean it up, so I want it to come in every single time the sound finishes playing. You get that metallic tone, but it's not too dirty. Moving on to the effects, we have a hyper dimension, which is very basic. The mix is at 50% and the size is all the way at 0, and that's just to add stereo width to the sound, very basic. But moving on to the phaser, we have a static phaser, which means that we have the rate all the way down, the feedback all the way down, and the phase all the way down, so that it's not actually moving at all. And that's because I want to be able to modulate the how it's moving with my own LFOs. So I'm modulating the depth with LFO1, and I am modulating the frequency with LFO2, which once again is the slowly evolving one. Moving on for more metallic tone, we once again have a very short delay, which is pretty common. But I'm also modulating the feedback, which is pretty much the same thing as modulating the resonance on this combs filter. I am once again having that metallic sound ring out, but I want to control it and be in control of it, basically. So with all of that, it sounds like this. You can hear that metallic sound is already coming out, but to make it even more pronounced, we have a combs filter. So this is different than the combs filter over here. This is the combs filter in the flanges filter, which is more similar to the one inside of the Reason rack. However, this combs filter is inside of Serum. It's down here in the Miscellaneous filter, and it adds a lot of this movement to the sound. I'm modulating the cutoff once again only -2, so a very slight modulation, but that very slight modulation makes a huge difference in the sound. So let me play it with and without the combs filter. Alright, perfect. And moving on, we have an OTT, very common effect. Something I always like to do with it though is I like to turn the ratio all the way up, bring the attack down, and bring the release up. So that way you can get a tighter OTT that's not ringing out as much. I know a lot of the reasons that producers use OTT is to get that ring out, but I don't want too much of it. I more want it for the brightness and whatnot. So moving on to the post-processing, it is very simple stuff. We have a saturator that is just doing 5 dB, nothing special. But I want to make sure that it's hitting the sub, so you get a little bit of crispiness when the sub is distorting with the rest of the bass. Moving on, we have a little reverb with some pre-delay. I'm basically using this as a slapback to give it some room without muddying up the sound. It's really important to note that I am only using these frequencies of the reverb tail, so I am cutting off a lot of the highs and the lows. With the reverb and the saturator, it sounds like this. After that, we have an OTT, very simple stuff. Once again, the time is all the way up, which is basically what I was doing inside of Serum. We have the output up and the downward down to get more loudness. And finally, we have a little bit of an EQ right here, cutting away all of that sub and boosting a little bit of that frequency, that tone that I really want. So altogether, we added this sub, which once again is the same sub I used in my last tutorial. Very simple. It's just an analog BD sine with the wave position all the way up. I am compressing it a lot, saturating it a lot, and only using those lower frequencies. That is going through a bus up here, which on the bus I have this very simple effect, which you can find in my sample pack on Gumroad. And it is literally just automating a bandpass filter. Very simple effect, but very effective. I use it all the time. After that, we have a ring mod, and what this is doing is I am basically modulating it to the sub frequency and adding bias and rectify. If you want me to go more into this effect, I can do it in another video, but basically you can hear it with and without. It is just adding a little bit of crunch. So without it, and then with it adds a little bit of crunch in that low end. Let me 100% it so you can hear exactly what it does. So I only wanted a little bit of it, so I modulated it in there. Once again, I am taking out all of the mud and boosting a little bit of those harmonics. And finally, I am V-clipping the sound all together, and that's the finished sound. If you have any questions, please make sure to let me know in the comments. I love making videos like these, and if you have any other things that you want me to make videos on, I will absolutely do it. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll check you in the next video.